About to kick off here between Arsenal and Manchester City. Hopefully this ends up being an even game. I have my suspicions about whether Arsenal will be up to the task. Arsenal is home to City. The referee blows the whistle and all the players take the customary knee. And Bernardo Silva is kicking this game off for us. And I get off to a false start. Pardon me. Let's. My mouse didn't quite. Oh, crap. 0. 30. And start. Okay, that's good. All right. Just bear with me one moment. The big news with the team sheets was Pep's decision to play without a recognized striker. Gabby Jesus doesn't get the chance to play today. Why is my TV is not giving me HD right now? And Man City take the lead with 1 minute and 18 seconds gone in the game. It is Raheem Sterling who heads in off of a cross, I believe, from Cancelo. No, it was Mahrez. Forgive me. On the right wing, I think they said it's his 30th birthday. He does a step over. Beautifully little curled in ball. Too easy for City to take the lead. And this could get ugly. Yeah. Raheem Sterling, all 5'6" of him or whatever, gets up and really not challenged at all by any of the Arsenal defenders. And City are off to a great start. Oh, I didn't even get a chance before I switch this right here. Please follow me, everybody, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch. Available right now. I'm streaming live on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. So please let me know what you're watching on. And please, as always, let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what team you support. And I'd love to chat with you. This is, again, I'm sorry, here we go. Let me change the score here. 1-0 to the Citizens. And anyway, I myself am a Liverpool fan. Kind of happy to be watching not my team because things are in the dumps right now. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see Man City. I'll be curious to see their performance today with the false 9. I think Pep's been playing with a false 9 quite often this season, and as he said in the pre-match, he's been rotating quite a bit this season, which he did say is completely necessary given all the competitions. You can't play with 11 or 13 players, and I think that's to some extent that's any season, but certainly this season the effects of coronavirus have deemed it necessary to really. I'm still here, don't worry. Have deemed it necessary to really rotate a lot, and injuries have really come up Arsenal today are without Thomas Partey, who I think a lot of Arsenal fans were excited about that signing. I myself haven't seen that much of him playing, actually, but Arsenal fans will deem him an important loss. I'm also interested to see Arsenal as well. I mean, I think that they have been a joke for the better part of 5 years. I mean, they might be on the Man United. Oh, here's Raheem Sterling who gets a beautiful ball in, and classic Sterling. He is in an advantageous position. Great ball in by KDB, and Sterling is a talented and technically gifted player, but when he's given too much time, that's what tends to happen. He's not the best decision maker, and Leno is able to gobble that one up. So as I was saying, Arsenal is definitely in a difficult holding pattern. I'm interested if we have any Arsenal fans. Definitely do chime in and give me your thoughts on the team and how they've been run the past couple of years and what it's going to take to get out of that. My opinion is that the Arsenal board is not ambitious enough. You make signings. I think Aubameyang and Lacazette are kind of very emblematic of where Arsenal are as a club. I think they are good signings for Arsenal, but you almost get into like the NBA territory of discussion of, oh, if this person is your best player, then that's not going to be good enough to win the league. And it's interesting because I think Aubameyang is a bit of an enigma in terms of, here's Mahrez twisting and turning, opens himself up some space in the box and gets a shot away, but it is deflected wide for a corner. And 7 minutes into the game, Man City really taking it to Arsenal. And before I get back to that topic, it's funny. In a bit of prep coming into this game, I was going to say, Arsenal fans, how do you plan on setting up against this City team? Obviously, 17 games on the bounce. 17-game win streak for Man City, which is extremely impressive. And how would you like to see the Arsenal team set up at home against City? And I think most people would expect Arsenal to not have the majority of the ball, but I think that Arsenal should endeavor to, obviously it's going to be difficult to even get a draw from this Man City team who are on fire. They're passing the ball out of the back, and Kevin De Bruyne was pressing Leno within his 6-yard box, which is very interesting. As much as pressing is in fashion, you don't see that very often, that a goalkeeper is dribbling away in his own 6-yard area. But anyway, and here Arsenal are doing just about what I was about to say, which is to try and possess the ball. Again, getting any points off of this City team is going to be difficult, but you're at home. Don't just concede possession of the ball. Actually try to play with them. And yeah, you may lose 2 or 3-0, but I think that you should, if it's away to City, then yeah, you can understand City having the bulk of the ball and sitting back and trying to absorb pressure. But you're Arsenal. I mean, Arsenal's identity for my lifetime has been controlling possession of the ball and trying to play beautiful football. In recent times, you think Olivier Giroud, kind of this nice, dainty type of player, and that beautiful goal that they scored against Norwich with the nice one-touch football. Obviously, the makeup of the team has changed since then, and I'm not an Arsenal fan. I don't spend a lot of my time watching a lot of Arsenal because they just haven't been too relevant. And like I said, in the past 5 years, so um, I'm not really sure what Arsenal's identity is. I think to be frank, I think that they lack an identity while they are going through this rebuild, and I do think that they're sort of in a Manchester United of 2014 uh, position in their rebuild, which as an Arsenal fan, has to be difficult to watch um, because these are the Bastian Schweinsteiger at Man United days, and really trying to anything that Arsenal has done in the past 2 to 3 years. They've tried a lot of things, but nothing really seems to work. I mean, they just got rid of Mesut Ozil, who a lot of people will think that he was a negative influence in the dressing room. I'm not even going to comment on that. I think that's speculation. Obviously, a lot of media focus and attention on that isn't going to help, but simply just getting his wages off the books, is going to be helpful. And I'll be curious to see how Arteta does as a manager. He was, of course, Pep's assistant for a while, so I think that was a good apprenticeship for sure. And getting the Arsenal job right out of the gates, I think, is it's a big job to take on without really a lot of experience. So very similar to the Lampard career at Chelsea. I know I'm kind of jumping around a lot, but Arsenal definitely a big job to be your first experience, and hopefully that doesn't burn out what otherwise would have or could have been a good managerial career. But anyway, I do like a bit of what Arteta has been doing. Again, I don't think that you can expect too much in the way of results right away. But yeah, back to sort of the negative side of things from Arsenal's perspective. You have players like Nicolas Pepe. I mean, the front three, and again, I'm not even a legend. I don't watch much Arsenal religiously, but so I couldn't even tell you what their main lineup is. But from an outside perspective, having Lacazette, Nicolas Pepe, and Aubameyang as your front three really, to me, isn't going to do it. And on the subject of Aubameyang, I think it's an interesting signing. Again, going on like 3 years now, I think. To call him a failure would certainly be harsh because he has won a golden boot during his time. But on the other extreme end of the spectrum, calling him a success, I think is too courteous, because I think when you sign a player like that for big money and big wages, and in terms of influence on the team, I think he is, and a lot of people will consider this harsh, but I do think that he's a player that can score 20, 25 goals in a season, but not really influence all that much. And I don't really know why that is. It's really more just sort of a sniff test, that, he can score 20 goals and, be in a 13th place finish team and, or score 20 goals and be on a 3rd place team. And, I'm not even saying that, he is a flat track bully like a Lukaku, and he'll just score against like the West Broms and the Newcastles, but doesn't show up in the big games. I'm not saying that. It's just, I think, and maybe to be fair to him, that he just needs help from his teammates. One might say that there's not a whole lot of quality surrounding him. Granted, Xhaka is not my kind of player. You got players like Rob Holding. They signed this center back, Pablo Mari, who's playing today, who I'll have to watch more of. But Arsenal just seem to be making these signings that, again, I go back to, me being a Liverpool fan. I do think it's a very good comparison when you're talking about any team in transition. Whether it could be any team, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United, Tottenham, that if you're not that Man City or Liverpool team that have won the league in the past 3 years, obviously that's your goal. That's what you're striving for. So let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments about the philosophy of rebuilding a team. But anyway, back on track, is a lot of these teams that I just mentioned find themselves in like the Liverpool of 2016 position of, I think it's as simple as doing a sell or keep. Is he a positive or a negative in this team? And I think a lot of players are very difficult to answer those type of questions. Again, I always put up like an Emre Can situation where there's hope there, but he's not quite all there. Some inconsistent performances. And for me, at Arsenal, Granit Xhaka is a player in an age bracket where he should be sold. I mean, he may put in some good performances here and there, but at the age he's at, that what level he is, and he's not going to be kicking on to another level. So, yeah, to me, I would put Granit Xhaka in the sell category. At the same time, you look at a player like Hector Bellerin, and I'm a fan of his. I like his pace. I like the fact that he has been there for so long. And that's the other thing too is, good shot good chance at least by Bukayo Saka on the edge of the box. Took a shot and it was blocked by Aubameyang, who was in an offside position, and City get the ball back. It's interesting. It looks like that shot was going to go wide, but unfortunately, Arsenal just can't even get really a clear chance on goal, as you have to assume that the chances will be few and far between for Arsenal. Wow, 72% possession for Man City, 18 minutes into this game. And yeah, back to, in the context of this game, as I said, if I'm an Arsenal fan, I think you got to have baby steps. Like even in this game, I think it would be a success just to put 3 minutes of possession together, even if you're not even going anywhere, just getting comfortable on the ball and pass the ball around. Don't really risk anything, and then as you get that possession, then you can build a bit more. You can be a bit braver. But when you have 28% of possession, unless you're just conceding possession and you're saying, okay, we're just going to be a counter-attacking team, I think if I were an Arsenal fan, I would deem that pathetic. You're at home. Yes, you're coming up against City, but I would like to see us endeavoring to have more of the possession. But you are coming up against Manchester City. And anyway, but yeah, definitely do let me know who you are and where you're watching from, as my wife tries to get her charger and get in and out. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I think back to my discussion on how to rebuild Arsenal, I do think that I like the fact that Arteta is turning towards youth, and because I do think that that's where your hope comes from. I do think, again, the Granit Xhaka is at an age where you really don't think that he's going to kick on to another level, and he is what he is. Never mind the fact that I'm not a fan of his character. I do think that you need some players, as I said, Hector Bellerin, to be sort of one of the staples at the club to kind of bring the youngsters through and know what it is to be an Arsenal player. I know that's a cliche, but you can't. I'm not saying you can't just roll out a team of 22-year-olds and expect to climb up the table. I know I'm not saying that, but I mean, you have so much dead wood in this team. You got Mohamed El Neni on the ball. You got Rob Holding. Bernd Leno, I put in that category. I know he's like relatively new signing. He's only been with the club for 2 years, but Bernd Leno, that is a perfect example of an indictment on where Arsenal are at the moment. I mean, it is so difficult. Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh. You're in that doldrums position of not being in the Champions League. And listen, Liverpool in 2016 were there too. It's a very frustrating position to be in, because you have players like Philippe Coutinho, who he's your pride and joy, and Luis Suarez too. I'm going back even further into the 2014 Liverpool time period of you make these signings, you sign the best kind of players that you can, but you know that even that player isn't good enough. And I'm talking about, again, the Bernd Leno. And again, people will think it's harsh, but I'll put Aubameyang in that category. He's scored a lot of goals, but he's not a player that's going to revolutionize the team or really elevate their status. But anyway, again, back to the 2014 sort of era of Liverpool, you have Suarez and you've got Coutinho, and they are those players that you need to kick on and reach that next level and show to players externally from the club that these are the type of players that we need to get back to, being on top of the Premier League. And yet, those are the type of players that, for a while, Liverpool were struggling and failing, frankly, to keep a hold of. And a lot of Liverpool fans would say you can't prevent, particularly like the Latin or the South American players, from their desire to one day play for Barcelona or Real Madrid. And so it's a very tricky thing to bring a club like Arsenal back to where they belong, at least in the fans' view. Because, I mean, again, I'm not just trying to put the dagger in on Arsenal fans, but Arsenal really haven't been relevant for 5 years. I haven't feared about Arsenal for a long time. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really would love an Arsenal fan's perspective on this, because I think on one hand, you have to say, like, if not now, when, sort of thing, where we've been irrelevant for 5 years. And we really need to turn this thing around, because once you go from 1 to 5 years of being irrelevant, going into 6 to 10 years 6 to 10, then that really becomes a problem, because when do you turn it around? And, you really can slide down the table. And then you start to look at, and now I think you're playing a little bit of fantasy land if you might argue like, oh, you get teams like West Ham and Wolves and Everton, are they going to sort of permanently be above Arsenal? I'm not ready to say that, but if you don't turn things around quickly, Arsenal, then it's a fear. You can't get too complacent. And I'm not saying that they are getting complacent, but the owners definitely do need to show some ambition, because you're signing the signings that Arsenal are coming up with, including like David Luiz and Willian, are really problems when it comes to Arsenal getting back on track. But anyway, I just kind of spent 20 minutes on me blathering about getting Arsenal back. And I'll kind of leave it there. But here comes Bukayo Saka, 25 minutes into the game. Left-hand side, he tries to switch it to Pepe, but it gets blocked by City, and Arsenal just really can't get any momentum going. I mean, Saka is providing a bit of a spark for Arsenal, and kind of I like the decisions that he clearly is trying to make, but it's just not coming off for him. A bit unlucky, but again, I think that sort of tells you where Arsenal are, that even these good intentions that they're trying to come up with and utilizing their brightest sparks, they're just not coming off, and you're going to need to take your chances when they come. Here comes Mahrez on the right-hand side. He's really had a lot of joy on the right-hand side. But the chance is snuffed out by the Arsenal defense. I think it's also interesting too, Martin Odegaard, I haven't mentioned his name just yet, but he is playing in the 10 role, which has kind of gone out of fashion, maybe coming a little bit back. Liverpool earlier on this season. And the reason I bring up Liverpool, as well as City being the trendsetters, I mean, you really look at the teams that have success at the top level to really dictate the tactical trends. That's always been the case. I mean, Barcelona from 2009, really until for a good 5 or 6 years, they really had the tiki-taka 4-2-3-1, and then you have Klopp really coming through with the gegenpressing, as well as Guardiola, kind of aligning with Klopp and doing the gegenpressing, and that's been the high line, and the 4-3-3 has really dominated tactics for the last 4 or 5 years, and so you wonder what's going to be the next evolution of tactics worldwide. And 3 center backs has come in, but I've said before, I'm not really the biggest fan of the 3 center backs thing, but certainly wing backs in whatever formation you play has really become popular. And I mean, it used to be that you were really just an outside back as opposed to a wing back, really up until 2016, 2017. And then you have the rise of Robbo and Trent and Mendy at City and Cancelo now, and Kyle Walker. It used to be sort of a luxury if you could have an outside back that was good. I'm not even saying defensively, but really just as an outside back, that role. And then if you were able to get that wing back, it was just a fun thing to be able to watch. But now you're really getting now with Alphonso Davies and Serginho Dest, and it just really seems like everybody and their mother wants to have this outside back trend, which I'm a fan of because it makes things much more entertaining. And I think tactically speaking, you're able to sort of take those risks, not only just because of the rewards. Again, I think with Klopp and Guardiola really just kicking it into overdrive, taking it from third gear into like fifth gear of we just have better players so we can take these risks and we can dominate. So yeah, the hell with it. We're going to just throw those wing backs up the sidelines, and then you can get like a Fabinho or Fernandinho player to kind of just drop back in the six, back into the center to help the center backs in the case of a counterattack situation. And back to kindergarten soccer, where do you want to protect? It's the center of the field. So having Kieran Tierney and Trent and Robbo and players like that to throw more danger at your opponents down the sidelines. It's the latest trend. And again, like I said, I think that it utilizes the width of the field, utilizes pace, getting this frenetic energy towards games. And yeah, I'm a fan. Wing backs always make games more exciting. I remember I went to Christian Brothers Academy, which is a Catholic school in New Jersey, and one of the most fun teams I ever played on was the JV team, actually, my sophomore year. And it was just so fun because our coach really knew the game and liked to possess the ball. And it was just so funny because he had a very practical view on things in terms of, he said, like, listen, the records that you set here are not going to matter. Your win-loss record, which is a very American thing, like at any level, you must win is sort of the default American mentality. But he said, listen, the amount of games that we win and lose, sure, you want to win every game, but it doesn't really matter. No one's ever going to remember that. But so because of that, I want to develop you guys and play soccer the right way. And we had a soccer complex where there was like 3 or 4 fields in a row. And he would say, your record down there, pointing towards the varsity team, that matters. If you win and lose, that matters because, that's the top tier of the high school. And of course, a lot of kids wanting to go off and play in college. And so anyway, he would just play basically however the hell he wanted. Here comes City. Gundogan gets in a very advantageous position on the top of the 18, but kind of wasn't as swift as he probably should have been. Didn't get a shot off. Here comes Bernardo Silva, who fumbles his dribble on his feet. It's very strange because Bernardo in 2019 was one of the best attacking midfielders in the world. I mean, he was a player that I envied, as even as a Liverpool fan, and having a lot of hate for City and their players. And he's a bit of a prick to play against with the gamesmanship, diving for fouls and stuff like that. But anyway, very crafty player. But it's very strange because you kind of wonder when players like that, it's not even like a form thing. It's just his confidence has kind of eroded for longer than your typical slump generally lasts. So it'll be interesting to see. And I don't doubt that he'll regain his form. And in fact, I'd like to see that because he's a beautiful player. And it's amazing. I mean, some players just have it. You look at them and just their technique is just like, just insane. Like the way that Bernardo strikes the ball, it's so crazy when the ball falls to them, literally falls out of the sky and he just leathers a volley and he just makes the cleanest contact on such a difficult ball to strike. You can tell he just has it. So beautiful player to watch when he is on it. And so anyway, back to my tale of my JV soccer days. And so our coach, who, like I said, really knew the game, just for the hell of it, put his best players in left and right back. And we loved it. I mean, I played left back. I was a left-footed player. And by nature, I was more of an attacking midfielder. But, within the context of that team, because it was all just for fun, I loved it. And it was so much fun. Again, it gave a lot of width. And whereas you normally put your best creative players in the center of the field, he had more like workman-like players winning the ball back and then shuttling it out to the outside backs. And so it was a lot of fun to play for that team, a lot of crosses in. And so, yeah, I'm pleased to see that be a trend in today's game. Granit Xhaka playing the ball out wide to Kieran Tierney on the left side of the field. Now Saka plays back to Xhaka, who does not let rip like he ordinarily does. But anyway, kind of bouncing all around with my topics today. So hopefully you guys can keep up. Once again, I'll encourage and invite you to comment down below, whether you're on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, wherever. I'll be able to see it below. So let me know where you're tuning in from, across the world, who you support, any comments on the game or any comments that I've made. I welcome your thoughts. Here's Ruben Diaz, who kind of has that at least just now in the 38th minute, had that center back on the ball, and there's plenty of space ahead of him. He's not really yearning to go forward necessarily, but it's kind of just he's sitting on the ball waiting for things to open up. Not much is happening. And then he just sort of reluctantly carries the ball forward, almost like a Matip sort of situation. And he gets dispossessed about 10 yards into his run by Aubameyang, who starts going the opposite way. Not in any sort of real dangerous fashion, but Ruben Diaz thinks it best to slide tackle and foul him to prevent any sort of swift break going the other way. And here's Bellerin coming down the right-hand side, runs out of room, cuts back, plays it to Martin Odegaard, who plays sort of a hideous ball over to the left-hand side. No height that he was kind of needing. I always forget, is Odegaard Norwegian? Yes, he is Norwegian or Danish. He is Norwegian, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I already heard it the other day. Again, the classic NBC studio analysts not really having much to say, saying, this young Norwegian generation, which I'm sure is going to be like the next Belgian generation where, yeah, I mean, listen, Belgium had some nice players, but not really enough, up until like 2016, and then they got a like even bigger influx to supplement the golden Belgian generation with Lukaku and De Bruyne, and like Chadli, and I don't know if I can really throw Chadli in with golden generation, but Company, and unfortunately they never really accomplished really much of anything. I mean, they get to the semifinal, not even quarterfinal of the World Cup in 2018. Who won that actually? Oh no, it was a semifinal, because then they played England in the third place game, I think. And it's also, that whole discussion too is it's very binary. I mean, when you talk about Messi and Ronaldo and all the greats of all time, and then you get these idiots that'll say, oh, but in order to be the best of all time, you got to have a World Cup. I mean, it's so black and white. On the flip side of things, you have Thomas Mueller, who is the highest goal scorer ever in a World Cup, and is he the best of all time? No. And he took over from another German striker that just was very fortuitous in the opportunities that he had, Miroslav Klose. So I think so much importance is placed on that. It is such a huge stage, but I knew Messi would never win a World Cup, just because Argentina is one of the teams that I've hated the most watching. Have nothing against the country. I'm just saying the way that they were constructed as a team. It was such kindergarten soccer of just get it to the best player, or kicking and screaming, pass the ball to the Italians kind of BS. Yeah, I mean, and it's a shame too, because there's so much pressure on the Argentine coach, because it's such a bold thing, as I would imagine, as that coach, to want to minimize the influence of Messi. I mean, we're not even talking about like benching Messi. I'm just saying minimize the influence of strategically how you set up that team. But it was atrocious watching them in 2018. I mean, Messi just kind of floating about the pitch, really just having such a free role. I mean, I get it. I get the respect that he gets in Argentina, as he should. But, he's one of 11 players on the pitch. You can't set up a team like that. So, I knew that Argentina were never really going to achieve. I mean, granted, they did get to the World Cup final in 2014, but, never a team that was set up properly. And you could kind of just tell it was like it was a sniff test. You could see they just didn't ever have the balance of a team. I mean, they were always so top heavy. You had Di Maria and Lavezzi and Tevez, and here's Arsenal with a chance. And Bellerin had plenty of space. Pepe just a little too slow in getting him the ball. And by that point, the City defenders were able to recover. And here we are in the 44th minute, and Arsenal have not really had too many clear chances. I mean, neither have City. City have definitely dominated possession, looked the more likely to score next, as you might expect, but no real clear chances. City, I would say, are sort of in third gear right now. They're not really throwing everything they got against Arsenal, which, if I'm a City fan, I think it would be a little strong to say I'm displeased with the first half performance, but I would like to see more, just for the simple fact that, we only have a 1-goal lead, and no, Arsenal don't look like scoring, but, it's 2021, weird calls get made and stuff like that. So Odegaard tries to slip Aubameyang through, but a little too telegraphed of a pass, and Ederson actually off his line to clear. So yeah, I mean, in terms of Pep, the team that Pep has trotted out today, the 4-6-0 with De Bruyne as the false nine. I do like, in theory, the flexibility of it. And also really just the ballsiness of it. I mean, they were talking in studio before this game about the pressure a manager in Pep's position would find himself in by having a striker on the bench and kind of feeling obligated to play him, even though he hasn't been firing in Gabby Jesus. But listen, I mean, City are, 10 to 13 points clear of their next challenger in Leicester at this point. I mean, they've won the league. It's just a matter of time. And so, from that standpoint, how much pressure is there really on him? And really to make a statement. And who knows if it is a statement to say, hey, whether to the board or to the fans, the world, maybe this is just shouting out Erling Haaland, saying, hey, we have Gabby Jesus, but we are opting not to play him and instead playing Kevin De Bruyne as our striker. So clearly there's a glaring opportunity for any striker that we fancy and wish to sign, that you'll pretty much walk straight into this team and be a number one choice. I mean, I don't really know what is up with Kun Aguero. I think I don't know if he's been named on the bench. Let me check that for you. The halftime whistle has gone here, so I shall stop the timer, and I'll take my break. But anyway, let me check about Aguero. And obviously, Aguero, at one point, I think he said that he was going to finish. He is on the bench. But he said that he was going to finish his contract and then go back to Independiente in Argentina, his boyhood club, if I can say that. But then I think that he kind of extended his time at City. And so anyway, I don't know if he's here for just this season and next season or what his plans are, but certainly in planning going forward, I think all the world has to fear City if they go and sign Erling Haaland this off season. That would certainly be a scary precedent. I mean, not only just fearing Haaland on his own, which I certainly think he's not slowing down anytime soon, but sliding right into a City team that is dominating this league is certainly something to fear. So anyway, I'll leave you with that to ponder in the halftime break that I'm about to take, and I will catch you guys back here in about 10 to 15 minutes. What's up, everybody? I'm back for the second half of this Arsenal versus Manchester City game. And who's out there thinking that Arsenal can come back? And, oh, excuse me. I need to mute that. All right. Who thinks that Arsenal can actually get a goal back or even draw or win this? Oh, here's my coffee. Not me. Here's Raheem Sterling on the left-hand side, taking on Bellerin, runs down to the end line, cuts it back for Zinchenko, who swings at it, and it goes well wide for a goal kick. And Leno sets the ball down. I'm really liking this Premier League ball. Yeah, this is the second game I've watched with it. Kind of strange how these kit makers and ball makers and Nike, Adidas, Puma come out with things like in the middle of the season. Seems strange to me. Obviously, the more products you come out with, the more you can sell. Same with jerseys, but it's just bizarre that sometimes these things come out without any real rhyme or reason. I mean, again, I can't remember another season where they've changed the ball middle of the season. Here's De Bruyne with a beautiful. I thought that was in. You had some action on the left-hand side of the 18. Who is that? Zinchenko, De Bruyne's twin, does a step over, lays it off to De Bruyne, who takes one touch to settle and just tries to chip Leno with a curled effort. And as soon as it left his foot, it's De Bruyne, so you think it's in, but he just missed wide. Again, welcome back for the second half, and if you are here with me, please say hello in the comments. Whichever stream you're watching, whether on Twitter, let me change this actually. Whether on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube is what I'm streaming on currently. But please do follow me on any of those other platforms. Love to chat with you. Again, these are watch-alongs, not necessarily. My point in this is not to be doing play-by-play, but really more so just kind of in-game discussion. Beautiful ball by De Bruyne to Sterling on the left-hand side, and nice tackle by Holding in the 18. So anyway, I will I will let you know what's kind of going on in the game. I assume most of you will be joining me if you don't actually have access to a live video feed. But I'm also, I welcome you for any reason you wish. I myself have found myself drifting away from NBC coverage. It first began really last season because it would just be the same droning speak from NBC. Oh, is this going to be the season where Liverpool overcome the 30-year wait? And it just was so monotonous and redundant and really uninventive. And I think NBC might do a fine job for those people that are kind of starting out new for the sport. or kind of just a neutral fan. But when you are a fan of just one team, and you'll see rather quickly that the storylines get recycled and recycled, and the analysis is not what you might find on BBC or Sky. But I personally, I find it trickier to find quality content, really from any platform. And so I find myself kind of following individual journalists or analysts that I think provide good opinions. Because I do think that sometimes, I mean, BBC and Sky generally have been good, but at the same time, they have kind of trotted out personalities just that are soundbite merchants, a la Roy Keane. And even, I mean, I like Carragher. He's been good, but at times he will have what I think are uninformed opinion. And it's not even, that I have to agree with the commentator or analyst. It's more so just insight and whether I deem it to be like an informed opinion. Anyway, kind of just talking myself in circles here. It's kind of tough it can be tough to host as a one-man show, but here come Arsenal with Saka. Again, he is a bright light for this Arsenal team. It's his finished product and maybe some of his final decisions. At times I like his decisions and they just don't quite come off. And other times he doesn't pick quite the right option. Let's see here. Maybe I'll mess around a little bit. Let's see. I haven't ever utilized background music. Let's try that in a second. Let's see here. Boom, and let's see. Oh, can you share one at a time? All right. Here comes Mahrez over on the right-hand side, swings it all the way across to the left back, Zinchenko, who passes it further out wide to the left for Sterling. He kind of dances around the ball, brings it back to Zinchenko, back to Fernandinho, Diaz, and they kind of reset. A nice ball into Gundogan. Again, Rob Holding with a good challenge to recover and prevent City from creating more of a chance. Yeah, Gundogan, nice through ball from, I think it was De Bruyne. And Gundogan found himself in some space, and he had a good view of goal, but it looks like Gundogan made the decision to kind of let the ball run a bit more, wait for a player to make a run more centrally and it just didn't quite materialize for him, and then holding with the tackle. And Gundogan was thinking that should have been a corner kick. But anyway, City already back on the ball again. Here's Silva out wide. Mahrez essentially, Cancelo back to Diaz. And City still dominating the ball, much like they did in the first half. Ball falls to Gundogan with a nice finish towards the right-hand corner, and Leno parries it out wide for a corner kick. That was arrowing for the bottom corner as Leno gets a nice big left palm to that. Oh, nice ball in from Cancelo to the back post, but just cleared by Arsenal, and the ball came to De Bruyne, who's another one of those, as I was saying in the first half, of similar to Bernardo in terms of technique. When the ball falls to him, I mean, he did slice that one, but 9 times out of 10, he just gets the sweetest, cleanest contact and strike of the ball. And that's what makes him the best midfielder in the world. I mean, and also what sets him apart from the rest of the midfield, like the top of the top, is his vision. I mean, the vision that he'll play balls that you at home watching on the TV can't even see. And I think that's really when you get like a special player. Like I'm talking once in a generation type of player. They don't, doesn't always exist, but I'm trying to think who is Thiago. Actually, I was putting into that category as well. At least in the first glimpses that we saw of him at Liverpool. And again, I will refrain from heading into Liverpool talk or Thiago talk, which gets certainly complicated. And I know Thiago is definitely a trending topic on Twitter, especially as he struggles to really make a positive impact in the Liverpool team currently. But anyway, when he first started coming on against Chelsea and Everton in a Liverpool shirt, he would just pick passes out that, no look 30-yard balls on a dime. And he just is a special player to watch. And regardless of who you support, I urge you to, just take a breath sometimes and just appreciate the players that we get to watch. Because there certainly are some players that just kind of take your breath away, and certainly De Bruyne plays these beautiful diagonal. He can play any type of pass on the ground, in the air, pinpoint, really just carving open defenses, and he's surgical. That's one of the best ways to put it in terms of his passing and his vision. So good from a neutral perspective, which my friends often don't categorize me as a neutral opinion haver, if I can say that. But definitely very good as a neutral perspective to have De Bruyne out on the pitch and healthy again. And I mean, again, I've said it, and I think most people agree at this point that City have won this league. And since this game is not necessarily a barn burner, I think another. Oh, let me need to make some room now that we're past the hour mark on the game clock here. And so anyway, let me know if you have an opinion on the Champions League. Sorry, struggling with the multitasking element. Who do you think is going to win the Champions League this season? Let me actually pull up the teams that are actually still in it to remind me here. So you've got Liverpool and Leipzig. Leipzig about to be out. You've got Porto and Juve, which should be an interesting one to see that one kind of finish out. And Bayern's still in it, aren't they? Why isn't this coming up? Champions League. So, you know, City are always sort of favorites for this one, and they haven't quite done it. They haven't even gotten to the Champions League final. They are coming up this week on Wednesday against Mönchengladbach, so that's probably a favorable tie for them. Atalanta and Real Madrid also on Wednesday. Lazio played Bayern on Tuesday. Atletico and Chelsea on Tuesday. Chelsea, let me know your thoughts in the comments about Chelsea. I think it's pretty difficult to make heads or tails of what Tuchel is really going to turn Chelsea into. So that will be interesting to monitor, but I wouldn't rule them out of making a Champions League run. I mean, in terms of the league, again, the league this season is over. I'm just talking merely from the standpoint of if you're going to win the league, you have to be uber consistent, right? But in the Champions League, you can, and I think the teams in the Champions League that have won the Champions League in the last 2 seasons have been the best overall team. But it's a cup competition, so you don't always get that, and that's what makes it exciting. Of course, I love the format of the Champions League with the 2-leg system, as opposed to being just a 1-game knockout. So that's a good equalizer sort of thing. But in any case, who do you think is going to win the Champions League this season? I think a lot of people. Again, it is a weird season. It's Liverpool have fallen off a great deal. I think a lot of people would have Bayern in their favorites for the competition, simply because they won last year and they still have that team pretty much together. And I'm not ruling them out. Because they do still have a great team, but they haven't been consistent this year. They've, welcomed competition in the Bundesliga. They haven't been quite at their best. And, PSG and City are there, and they're the continual favorites. Just simply because of the money and the teams that they've assembled. Listen, I'm never going to be rooting for Man City or PSG, most likely, but Pochettino going there certainly makes them a bit of a more likable team. Again, I think personality-wise, it's a very odd fit there. Much, as I've shared with you guys, Mourinho at Tottenham is a terrible fit. I think Pochettino, this nice, likable guy, great football mind. For me, one of the top 5 managers in the world. And yes, I was saying that when he was unemployed, drawing some ire from some of my friends who point to, what did he win at Tottenham? But he listen, he got them to a Champions League final. He got them to second place, and I think that he is that he's an A-plus version of Brendan Rodgers. He overperforms with the squad that he has at his disposal, and so I'm a big fan of his. And I'm not a league follower. I do know that League On is pretty competitive this year, but here, let's see actually what place PSG find themselves in. Oh, it's the Champions League. League On. They are in third place, game in hand. So if they win their game in hand, they'll be 1 point off of Lille, who are currently playing right now and winning 3-1. But anyway, again, jumping all around here. I would be happy for Pochettino if he did have some success in the Champions League. Again, I don't agree philosophically with how City and PSG hold themselves in from a PR standpoint, or necessarily, I don't think it's great for the game in terms of just having billions and billions of pounds at your disposal at any given point in time. But it's kind of a point of no return from that standpoint in terms of money in the game. But anyway, back to my opinion on the Champions League. I think let me just look at the teams once more and kind of see. Liverpool. I would put Liverpool and Chelsea in a similar category of probably dark horses at this point. Not an awful lot of people expecting a whole lot out of those two teams, but they both have managers with pedigrees that have done well in the Champions League in the past, and don't rule them out because they do have quality in their teams despite their current run. Juve getting that important goal, important away goal to bring it back to 2-1, so that keeps them in it. But I haven't been a Juve fan in the past, and I'm certainly not this season. I think Pirlo either is not as great of a manager as we kind of wished, hoped, and possibly expected. And they probably won't win Serie A this season. So there you go. You've got Juve and Celtic, two long-time dominant teams in both of their leagues. Definitely not in the case of Celtic, and possibly not in the case of Juve, winning those leagues. Again, please do chime in if you're a fan of any of these teams. John Stones thinking he's Lionel Messi running out of the back. We are in the 69th minute here, and City fans, are you at all worried with just a 1-goal lead? Again, with the lead that you do have at the top of the Premier League, there's not really much pressure on you in terms of stakes, but I'm sure City fans would. Man City deserve to win this game. It would be harsh if Arsenal were to get an equalizer or, God forbid, a victory. But here's a ball in from Odegaard. Odegaard has been poor today. I know there's been excitement about him in the media at large. If you aren't aware of his career, he was signed as a 16-year-old by Real Madrid from Norway. And so there's been a lot promised about him, and kind of seemed like his development wasn't as swift as people sort of expected it to. But then he even had like a renaissance, if I can even say that, as a youngster, to go to show that he wasn't just a faded starlet. And again, he's only 22 years old, but just to say that he went off to Real Sociedad, who, by all accounts, he had a pretty impressive season, and so he's kind of resurrected himself as one of the top young talents across Europe. But it's interesting. I can't claim that he was an Arsenal fan growing up, but I'd almost venture to say that because he was very eager and enthused to sign for Arsenal on loan in January, which is a bit of a strange one. I mean, when you think about the teams which I haven't devoted a whole lot of thought to, the teams that he could have gone to, I kind of feel like he could have been loaned and played quite regularly at, a team more like a Chelsea or a Tottenham, as opposed to an Arsenal, who are floundering in 10th place currently. But anyway, nevertheless, here he is. And again, Arsenal haven't had much of the ball, so sometimes it's just difficult for a player to get into rhythm when you only have 28% possession. But when he has gotten touches on the ball, they have really been wasted passes and thoughts from the young Norwegian. Speaking of wasted passes, Pablo Mari looking for Kieran Tierney, and he passes the ball to his nearest ball boy off the pitch as opposed to his left back. And here comes Alexandre Lacazette and what's his name? Emile Smith-Rowe, is that his name? Oh, the ball was played back. I'm not even sure what happened there. I think Cancelo is waving. Okay. So Cancelo threw the ball into Fernandinho, who played it quickly back to Cancelo, who was sort of cornered in the back right, as a right back would take up those spaces of his defense. And he tries to play like an outside the foot sort of lobbed ball back to his goalkeeper. And Odegaard is making way here for Lacazette, and Smith-Rowe is coming on for Pepe, Nicolas Pepe, £72 million Nicolas Pepe. Cancelo played the ball back to his goalkeeper and really put him in a spot about. I mean, I think Ederson probably, looking back, could have taken his time, brought it down, and played it up the pitch. But instead, he decided to volley the ball from one shank to another, play the ball up in the air, and it looked a little scary from the City perspective for just a moment. But here City are back on the ball. Cancelo surging through the center of the pitch, finds Mahrez out on the right-hand side, step over, and lays it back to Bernardo. I think I failed to mention that Kevin De Bruyne is off the pitch. He made way for Gabi Jesus. Let's see if I can finally come up with an answer for you guys on who I think will win the Champions League this season. Some people might think I'm sleeping on Atletico. I just can't bring myself to. I'm just not an Atletico fan. Diego Simeone is a great coach, no doubt about it, but I can just never support a team like that being so defensive and just tetchy, and I hate coming up against them. And they just don't play beautiful football, so I cannot root for them. That leaves. I guess I'm riding high on these English teams. Liverpool, Chelsea, City, I think are all, out of 16 teams left, I would probably put them into my top 5. Then I think I kind of have to put I guess PSG and Bayern to round out a top five. There's Real Madrid in there. I mean, I think Zidane is kind of spinning his wheels over there. I don't think that he'll be the coach of Real Madrid beyond this season. Also, I mean, let me know if you have any thoughts on Zidane. I mean, right now it might be sort of easy to make a comment like that, Zidane isn't, this great manager. I mean, he's got something that I'm pretty sure nobody else has. He's got 3 Champions Leagues. But I will give myself credit, and I think that this opinion stands up, is that I've told my buddy Liverpool Lee that when what did they win? 3 Champions Leagues in 4 seasons? And mostly that's the same team, made up of the same players. Great achievement. I mean, you can't take that away from them. But is this one of the greatest teams we've ever seen? As I think is a completely fair question to ask, or assessment, or expectation bar to hold them against. And I would say no. You can't tell me that Casemiro. You look at this team and they have some nice players, but there's so many teams I would rank above them in terms of the best teams I've ever seen. I mean, including Liverpool last season. Call me biased, but unbelievable team. Of course, that didn't happen yet when Real Madrid was winning those Champions Leagues. But I mean, the City team also of 2018 and arguably still like sort of today, reloaded. City, Liverpool, the Milan team of 05 to 07. I mean, incredible. Just running right through just legends, that entire team. So I think that Real Madrid team was a good team, and they definitely had the mentality to go on and win those Champions Leagues, which one could argue is the most difficult competition in the world. But yeah, for me, they are not one of the best teams that I've ever seen. I mean, you got Cruz and Modric and Casemiro, all players that I like. They're nice players. I mean, I don't have an opinion on Casemiro. I don't like or dislike him really, but I like Modric. I'm a honorary Croatia fan through my buddy Sukar, Coach Sukar. So of course I like and root for Modric, but and Cruz as well. I think that he's a silky, lovely player to watch, but I don't think that they are likewise, some of the best midfielders that I've ever seen. So yeah, I think they kind of caught lightning in a bottle, and good for them. But to me, they're not a legendary team. Let me know what your guys' thoughts, some of the best teams that you've ever seen. I'm sure we'll probably hear some shouts for the Man United team of like the 07, 09 range. When they had Tevez, Rooney, and Ronaldo. That was a pretty great team, to be honest. Cancelo gets taken out, but play goes on with Gabi Jesus, who does step over. Oh, and Cancelo, beautiful. That should have been a goal. With all the step overs that Gabi Jesus was trying to sell and nobody was buying, going left, right, but really kind of just staying stationary. Cancelo really sells this beautiful, and credit to Cancelo really too for getting brought down. He gets back up on his feet, and delicious. Ball gets laid back from Cancelo, or from Jesus to Cancelo, and there's a defender that is trying to, Pablo Mari, that's not great on the second glance, but the ball gets laid back to him, and Cancelo has this beautiful fake step and then feigns forward, kind of pivots back, and then opens up. That really gives him acres of space in terms of where he was on the pitch, 7 yards from goal, and he goes to play a outside of the right foot finish, which looked good from the angle on the television, but it was just about a yard wide. But exciting play from City. Some beautiful football. Now they're replaying the one goal that this game has offered up, the Sterling header in the 2nd minute. But he gets some nice hang time on this header. Again, I kind of question where the Arsenal defenders were or what they were thinking, because, again, it's Raheem Sterling. Can't really credit him for his aerial prowess. But yeah, I mean, he's right in between two Arsenal defenders, and either one of them really need both. I would say both of them need to be held responsible for not picking up their mark and really allowing a free header, because there wasn't even anybody off the ground challenging him, despite really only being probably 2 yards away. And really not the start that Arsenal were really looking for or could afford to have. I mean, credit to them for sticking in this game and not allowing it to turn into a scary one. Speaking of scary, here comes David Luiz with a look that you don't often see. No, I'm not referring to his hair, but the double wristband coming onto the pitch. And anyway, so yeah, I mean, Arsenal have not allowed a second, third, fourth goal, anything of that nature. So that is good, but yeah, I mean, you can't have a mistake 78 seconds into the game against City, and then whatever game plan they did have kind of goes out the window. So a little bit of a snooze fest here, but we'll see if the last 8 minutes have anything to offer up. Gundogan on the ball. Gundogan, who, if this were NBA Jam, he would be on fire. He has been a goal-scoring machine recently. Here comes Sterling driving right at the Arsenal defense, and they just keep retreating and sort of allowing him to waltz right in, but he does find his dead end somewhere between the two Afros, El Neni and David Luiz. Oh, wow. That was quite a shoulder-to-shoulder challenge there. The classic shoulder-to-shoulder is not a foul if it's a challenge, but it is funny how literally that phrase can be tested at times. And here's one of them in the 84th minute with John Stones in a foot race with Aubameyang right near the corner flag on the left-hand side of the field, and he just, I would use the hockey term, checks Aubameyang, who falls to the floor, rightly so, but no foul given. And it's an interesting one because, again, when I say you test how literally that gets taken in terms of shoulder to shoulder, it is a good phrase to have because typically that means it's an even challenge. But when you sort of go out of your way to lunge or lurch at the other player, that's where I think, again, that phrase gets tested. But no foul. And not that it was really headed anywhere anyway. I think Aubameyang was probably sort of running out of bounds as the real estate sort of dried up for him. Fernandinho wins the ball pretty high up the pitch, and he tries to play in Sterling. But speaking of running out of real estate, It's an Arsenal goal kick, which they take quickly out to Bellerin, and he plays it up to, who's that? Saka on the right side of the pitch. I wasn't expecting that. Here comes Danny Ceballos on for El Neni. Ceballos is, who knows? I mean, I think that Ceballos is probably a pretty fair bar to judge Odegaard on. I mean, both players that have come in, actually both on loan from Real Madrid. I didn't even realize that, but two players that have a reputation that, come before them as, kind of silky playmaker guys, and, that go into Arsenal. And frankly, I think, are players that could play at teams above where Arsenal currently are. But, perhaps I should be giving credit to Arsenal because they are signing players that, kind of raise my eyebrow, signing them on loan. But as I just said, players that probably could be playing at a level or half a level above Arsenal, would suggest that they are at a level that will elevate the current crop of players that they do have. So there's that. However, they do need to put out performances that match that reputation that I'm affording to them. And I think with Danny Ceballos, I think he started pretty strong, but, the fact that he slid down the pecking order, and forgive me if, I'm overlooking an injury. Again, haven't really kept up with Arsenal's injury list, but his impact has faded a bit on this Arsenal team. Man City just kind of chewing up some clock as they win a free kick in midfield. Finally, does get out to Sterling, who plays a little through ball in for Gundogan, who tries to center it. And it hasn't really happened for Gundogan today. I'm not saying he's putting in a poor performance, but things just aren't clicking. He has found himself in positions like that one and trying to center the ball across, but Arsenal's defenders have been able to clear it each time. Here the ball goes out for a corner kick to City, as we only have a few minutes left here on this lovely Sunday afternoon. And City take a short corner, and then Arsenal close in on them, and City commit a foul. So here's Arsenal taking the ball out of the back. David Luiz out to Pablo Mari, who chips the ball up towards Lacazette, and he draws a foul on Fernandinho. And David Luiz is lining up and really beckoning for the ball, despite being 45 yards out of 45 yards from the free kick. And here's City breaking now. It's 1-on-3 for Jesus, and he did have quite a bit of space to roam into to line up a shot, and that he does, but the shot is blasted over. A lot of shanked shots in this game and yesterday. In the Liverpool game, Firmino comes to mind with shanking shots, and it has been maybe just players out of form, and it maybe just players out of form, but maybe at the same time, it's tired legs. Again, I do think that the quality really hasn't been there this season across all leagues, really. if I were to ask you who's the best team in the world right now, I think that's a difficult question to answer. Perhaps the obvious choice is Man City, but I think Man City are dominating a league that is extremely weak right now in the Premier League. You've got, again, as I've said earlier, Bayern not really dominating the Bundesliga. PSG currently sitting in third place in Ligue 1. Italy not really having any dominant team either, and I know Inter won over Milan first versus second earlier today. So they are in the lead in Italy by about 4 points. But yeah, I do not think that there's really any dominant team in the world right now. I mean, Spain also, you generally look at Barca and Real Madrid, but they are definitely struggling and probably in need of a rebuild. I believe Atletico's in first place, but they are not what I would call a dominant team. So what is that down to? I think it's down to injuries and COVID protocols, and I think that the quality worldwide could really be a lot greater than it is currently. And unfortunately, when you think about it, even beyond this season, it's kind of difficult to see when players will actually get a break. Because you got Euro 2020 or Euro 2021, whatever they're calling it, this summer, and then you got the World Cup coming in November or December of 2022. So really, I mean, the next break that these top players are really going to be afforded is in summer 2022, and there's quite a lot being asked of top footballers these days. Entering the last minute here at the Emirates Stadium. And looks like City are going to be in possession of the final kicks of the game. They have a free kick here about 40 yards from goal over on the left-hand side of the field, as Zinchenko walks super nonchalantly up to it and just plays a quick ball to Sterling, who ball does not... ball did seem to go out of play, and City have a throw-in. Pep looking very casual on the sideline with a gray hoodie with red shoestrings coming from the hood. It says "Open Arms." I'm not sure if that's just his buddy's brand or if that's promoting a cause. I'll have to do some research, but definitely looking quite casual. I think I heard somebody saying a podcast recently that the more desperate a manager is for a job, or the more of a company man a manager is, the better dressed he will be. So somebody like a Pep Guardiola doesn't need to suck up to his bosses, so he can just walk around generally pretty fashionably, but also casually. And the game should be called just about now. I'm going to call it here on the stream. Not too much interaction today, but I do appreciate those who did join in and tune in. And please, as I'm going to throw up on the screen down here, please follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch at Beatty's Beat, and on YouTube, possibly the best place to subscribe, because I have all my archived watch-alongs there. Just search Beatty's Beat with or without a space. It should come up. And I will catch you another time. Enjoy your weekends and see you soon.